Hap, it's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me, man. Big fan of the Prism podcast series, and appreciate you asking me to be here. So
Yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons why I was excited to hop on the conversation outside of Cafe Wha and y'all being great partners and doing really cool stuff in New York City. There's news brewing about a new venue that you're opening, and I think it's such a cool story because it's a small cap venue in New York City. It's a time where a lot of people are leaning out and you're leaning in, and you're gonna say it better than me, but I think that's just it's a really cool positive story, and it's gonna be a fun place to see shows. So why don't we just jump into that? Yeah, what's it called? And yeah, give me all that.
yeah, well, it's called Bleecker Bell, and it's right around the corner from our existing locations. On Bleecker Street. Well, our clubs that we have now are on McDougal Street, right here in the Village in New York. And yeah, it's a new 200 cap club in Manhattan downtown. It's going to be the first one of its kind, in quite a while. It's one of those things where a lot of the small clubs, have been closing and have been leaving us, but and a lot of places that are, will be sorely missed. But we're starting one, so it's
Yeah,
really
talk about
exciting.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the big impetus for it with us was coming out of COVID is that, Cafe Wha, it's been here since 1959, has a very long history and sort of, had this house band that was really dominated the schedule. We have another club up the block called The Groove, which was somewhat similar. And what we sort of found, because these places had been around for so long, we had been in sort of these sort of mindsets, right? These sort of more or less these boxes, like this is what these places are, and this is what we do and what we present. And when COVID kind of came through, it allowed us to, the sort of the boxes broke, and it just kind of gave us the freedom to experiment more and see what we can do, with these places that we had thought of as such one direction, in the past. And as we started doing that, we just saw this real sort of desire for these kinds, these level shows in these, small, intimate listening spaces that were, we always, I would like to think that, our clubs and the way we sort of are sort of positioned in terms of, working with talent and customers, were very, focused on presenting the music the right way and, treating the artists the right way, and the customers are just really delivering a really awesome experience from start to finish. And I think it just that whole coming out of COVID allowed us that ability to explore that more, and it just seemed to kind of, inspire us to go bigger. And we've been working at that for the past several years with the new club. It's been a lot of work with just the neighborhood itself. It's a landmark neighborhood. It's very difficult to get, to do any sorts of something new in the neighborhood just because of, how historic and tight things are. But it's been a real exciting adventure, and we are very, very close, and it's really exciting to be able to have this new kind of place in the city, in Manhattan. There have been a lot of, similar, smaller clubs that have been opening on the outskirts and the outer boroughs and stuff over the past, several years. But to have something, in the Village, kind of like it used to be, back in the day when it all kind of started back in the 60s, to have some of that come back. And so we're really, really excited.
Yeah. Okay. So where is Bleecker Street for those that don't know Manhattan?
Sure. So,
because this is a very important point. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with New York at all, Washington Square Park, I would say, is the big sort of, closest major landmark, right? That is the park in the Village, sort of right in the middle of downtown. Where
roads, some cross the intersections.
Oh God, I would say like
Possibly,
Sixth Avenue and West Fourth, roughly.
6th Avenue and West Fourth.
Yeah,
Okay.
roughly that sort of area.
Okay,
And
so Lower East Side, right? Technically.
no, really, it's like Greenwich Village. It's more like in the center
Okay.
of the village.
Okay.
And so yeah, the Washington Square Park and that this sort of old school village area right adjacent to it is kind of where the big movements of the '60s kind of came about. Washington Square Park was just always this big sort of, and it still is this very sort of artistic, there's a lot of music going on in the park. Back in the '60s, a lot of clubs were like ours. It was just full, just teeming with artists, musicians, and poets and writers and everybody. And it was like the sort of breeding ground for all this stuff. And that's what really I would say probably the neighborhood has always been similar to that, but that sort of the most recent kind of time that really put the area on the map. And then of course New York City changes so fast, so obviously things change throughout the years, and NYU expands, and a lot of those artists and musicians are driven into different places. So it started probably really in the Village, then it started to kind of move to the East Side, the East Village and Lower East Side. Then it moves from there over to Brooklyn, and then Brooklyn, now it's moving into like Ridgewood and Queens and stuff like that. So it's this sort of kind of thing that the neighborhood becomes cool, and then everybody wants to be there and try
Right.
stuff. So
Yeah. It's that vicious cycle that
the
is
vicious cycle.
too frustrating to call out, but it's like, yeah, the neighborhood's not so good, cheap, whatever. Artists move in, make it cool. Everyone else moves in, the artists move out. It's like, yeah, it's wild. It's happened all cities all over the country. It's
Sure.
definitely a pattern for sure.
Yeah.
And and you could see that as a stream that's like pushing art out. And you guys are going against the stream, and going back to the source.
Yeah, I mean, there's some sort of some things are sort of circular, right? Some things are linear. I'd like to think that maybe some of the sort of artistic and music stuff could be sort of circular, and kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, the neighborhood. The great thing is that the neighborhood always has kind of maintained, a good entertainment scene, right, in different sort of facets.
Cool.
So and also a very popping, active sort of scene, in varying sorts of ways. So that's the great thing that the neighborhood has sort of maintained. It's just that it kind of varies in the shape and form. And so, continuing with that sort of natural draw of the neighborhood and the entertainment factor, it seemed like it, is a good, good
Yeah.
next step to take.
Let me ask about the economics of this. So one of the reasons why there's this outward stream from these cultural districts, to further and further parts of the city is just obviously economics, right? Like you can only make so much revenue on concert tickets and have so many profitable events a month, and it's no longer economically feasible. So the venues pop up in more affordable places, and then I think something that happens with these vicious cycles. I think sometimes the people that are now in these places that were once incredible entertainment districts, and to your point, it's still maintained its brand as an entertainment district, but you hope that they would look around and say, oh wow, this is a problem. It's like, wow, like we moved here for this thing that's no longer here, and then maybe, and then you hope that the community kind of returns the favor and embraces something like what you're doing. But my economic question is, is there a city grant or a property that was carved out for a music venue to help the economics more digestible? Or are you just kind of, are you having to buy or to find yourself in this lease the way that any other restaurant would, or any other, whatever apartment complex might have? Like, yeah, is there any kind of economic kind of incentives for entertainment related things that you're taking advantage of, or is it purely just you're taking the high rent and going for it? Yeah.
It's there's no economic incentive. No.
Wow.
It is
even more brave.
yes, it's a little brave. I am not super involved with a lot of the, I'm not a partner, not an owner or anything, more, involved with sort of the talent and musical operations. but no, there's no real grants or anything like that to speak of. Just seemed like the right opportunity at the right time, and we just really saw with our team that was sort of developing and our sort of evolution from 2021 through the present that it was something that that looked promising. And yeah.
Was it an existing building? Are you building from the ground up, or yeah?
Great question. So yeah, actually
on the dirt. That's another question. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a building that burned in 2021. So there was a fire in the building in 2021. And I believe, like we will be moving our offices over there. I believe, we do own the property, as it sits, for the most part, I believe. So it was really a more or less a ground up build out. I mean, sort of a shell of a building, right? And with the landmark situation, there's a lot of limitations in terms of what you can build and also the kind of business that you can open there too. So part of what I think really enabled us to be able to do something like this, I don't know that anybody else or just some sort of random person that wanted to open a live music club could have done something like this because of how, in New York, the community boards are very, very powerful, and they want to make sure that they're, protecting, especially the landmarked areas, protecting the integrity of the neighborhood. And so I think it was a big part of our sort of history in the neighborhood and having, the reputation that we did that allowed us to be able to work with the community board and the people in the neighborhood and the city and things like that to be able to say, this is what we'd like to do. How can we make this happen? And how can we, sort of make sure that we're not, adding to the neighborhood as opposed to creating something that nobody wants. That's just going to create a problem. It's going to be a positive addition to the neighborhood. So, because in an entertainment district, obviously things can get, crazy and wild, depending on what they kind of let happen. So.
Yeah, interesting. So y'all were in the right place, right time to swoop in to kind of fill in this historical building and full embracement from the community. That's very, very exciting. I guess and noted to your point that you're the musical operations director as opposed to like the underlying owner, but if you were to put yourself in their shoes, or if you were privy to these conversations, what was like the kind of, was it thought that did you compare this opportunity to going outside of town and doing something more expensive? Was the historical landmark just too compelling? Like, is a part of the why behind this? Is it beyond money, and is it to just fill this district that you care about with the venue that should be there? And if it's not y'all that do it, someone else is going to do it, and they're not going to do it as well as you. Like, yeah, so the question, I guess, is, was it beyond economics to decide to do this in downtown Manhattan? Or yeah.
I certainly think so. I mean, there's part of it that is very much neighborhood, related as well. I don't think that this is something we would have, explored like, hey, you know what? There's an opportunity in Brooklyn. It's like, well, that's not really we don't really know that. You know what I mean? Or like, we don't even really know, I don't know, Soho or whatever, this part or whatever. It was just, it's this very unique couple of blocks in this neighborhood. And,
cool.
Something that, I think it was a combination of things, combination of seeing the opportunity there, but also having a really good, finger and pulse on the neighborhood and kind of what is, how things kind of happen here and how things kind of work, and sort of being able to be, we have our existing places around the corner. We have our friends in the neighborhood, of course. And so it just all kind of seemed to make sense at the right point. Yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah. So part of it is you care about the neighborhood, but what I'm hearing is a part of it is you know the neighborhood so well that you probably had inside kind of knowledge on how to program that space really well.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
And that there was a need in the market as well,
Yes, you know, and that's the other thing. There have been some fantastic clubs I personally love, you know, that we've lost over the past several years, you know, in the city that breaks my heart that they're not here. But we have seen the need in the market, and you know, the other thing too is New York is, I feel like it's a unique city. There's only so, you can only build places that are so big, you know, so to speak. And so to be able to experience that kind of thing in that sort of intimate sort of setting, I think, you know, if you know, maybe 20 years ago or something, there was a ton of places like that, and it might have been a lot more difficult because there was so much, you know, competition. Um, there's less now, I guess, you know, it's the way that, you know, the you know, the tide sort of falls. But you know, we've been having really great success in getting our calendar together, and you know, having some really great stuff going, and the artists are there, believe the fans are there, and it's looking great.
It's kind of a just a curious question. And when at a and I guess Bleecker Street is not open yet. Or sorry, Bleecker Ball or
Bleecker
Bell.
Bell. Yeah.
Excuse me. Bleecker Bell is not open yet. But do you imagine it's like primarily going to be like neighborhood traffic going to the venue? Is it folks from other boroughs?
It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be a really a hard ticket room. I mean, it's going to be, you know, drawing people in, a lot of touring artists. There will be, you know, local acts, of course, but we are really going to be, you know, attracting people to come see really high level talent in a really intimate spot that is really focused on, you know, the artist experience, the customer experience, the having great gear for them to work with, having great sound,
Yeah.
and just a really, you know, I feel like there's been, I go to these different clubs and I'm always so picky. I think a lot of us, you know, get into this business, and sometimes we go out and we go to these places. It's like, oh, you kind of almost have a hard time enjoying yourself. It's like, I wish you could do this, or I wish you could do that, or whatever, you know. And so with the new sort of construction that we have, it's also, that's the other big thing too. Our sort of existing clubs had these very, you know, very old buildings, right? Very sort of limited in terms of physical, you know, limitations in terms of what we can do where, and just because the buildings are so old. And because we've been able to design this from the ground up as what we want it to be, it's really, you know, allowed us to kind of focus on
Cool.
and kind of create something that is, I think, otherwise rather difficult to do in an old, very old building that was never meant to do something.
Cool. I think when I asked the question, I may not have been clear what I was, that was all very interesting.
Yeah.
Just kind of circling back on what I was trying to get at is, you know, like when you're running a venue in, you know, downtown Manhattan, like where are your ticket buyers is my question. Is like,
Where are they? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, do you like, is it a lot of people in a mile vicinity of the venue? Is it a lot of people kind of bussing in from out of town, like a lot of tourists? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably not a lot within a mile, you know, to be honest. To be quite
Interesting.
honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to, well, obviously New York City is, I mean, it's just a massive market, right? I mean, there's what, 8, 9, 10 million people that live here, right? But a lot of the people that do that are going to be coming to shows like this are going to be, you know, coming from New Jersey, from Westchester, from various parts of Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, Long Island, you know, all these different kinds of places. You know, we do have, one of the other great things that the club has is sort of these natural resources, right? Being in this entertainment district, and also having a great location and being able to get there pretty easily via public transportation from, whether it's New Jersey or what, you know, like the you know, the sort of West Fourth station is pretty accessible by pretty much every train in New Jersey. That comes pretty quickly. So yeah, we do see a lot of people coming from a lot of different places. You know, there's also because of the history of the neighborhood, there is certainly a tourist element too. but it's tourists that are valuing specific kinds of music and specific kinds of entertainment that that they seek it out and get out of the Times Square, sort of, M&M store,
Yeah.
kind of, stock sort of thing. So,
You sold me. I can't wait to check it out.
we're stoked, man. We're really stoked.
One thing that you said that stood out is, just the advantage of building it from the ground up and getting to do it the way that you're doing it. Like, what about the project stands out that you were able to do that, just kind of inheriting a space didn't allow?
What stands out about the new space that?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the big things, this is a great example. Green Room, right? Okay, at our existing clubs, Cafe Wha has been around since 1959, right? It used to be an old basket house where they just, Bob Dylan would, come, they pass the basket around. There's no thought of a green room. Like, that wasn't like a thing. You know what I mean? And when it's a basement club, we're not hiding anything. There's like, it is what it is. There's nothing, and it's New York City, so you're so limited in terms of space. It's like, what can you really do? And it wasn't until fairly recently that we were able to put a green room in there because they finally updated the sort of heating system in the building. There was this giant boiler in the boiler room, and this huge, massive, like ancient thing, right? And finally, the building, decided to get rid of it, update the system. And it's like, oh, now there's a room we can use as a green room. And it's like, now that opens up so many doors. Like, I can't have artists that come in here and that don't have a green room, So to be able to start from, the beginning and be like, okay, what's like super important here? Like, obviously, attracting the right kind of artists, getting great gear, having an awesome system that we're able to set up and tune and do it the right way, and having great backline and creating that green room, from the beginning and not having to back into it in sort of this backwards way.
By getting rid of the boiler. Yeah.
yeah. So
that there's a Cafe Wha's green room was once a giant boiler.
It was just a boiler room of nothing. But we've tricked out since, it's not bad now. But
I love that.
And then also too, some of the more, sort of operational things. Just in terms of like food service and bar stuff and things like that, Cafe Wha has always had, it's just so strictly limited in terms of space. There's always just been a service bar, so it's all table service. There's no actual walk-up bar and a very, very small kitchen. Whereas now at our new club, it has a mezzanine. We have 2 bars that you can, actually go. We'll still have table service, but there will be bars, there will be, standing room. There will be a lot more thought out of a food program as well, because we have larger kitchen and larger facilities. So it's like a lot of things that are just, as opposed to sort of backing into it and being like, okay, this building was built like 125 years ago. What can we do with it? It's like, okay, what do we want to do? And let's go from there. So
love that. So Cafe Wha is what, 400 capacity?
Oh gosh, we wish. I think legally probably, but it's really, that's really about a 220, 250.
Okay. Like that. Okay. Got it. Yeah. And what's the portfolio of everything you're booking?
At Cafe Wha, it really varies. So, prior to COVID, since the early 80s, the late 80s until roughly around COVID, it was more or less dominated by a series of house bands. It was the Cafe Wha house band, which more or less dominates the schedule, but then there was also these other sort of certain, nights. There was a long running Brazilian night on Monday night that ran for many, like probably 2 decades. There was a long running funk night on Tuesday. And then there was the Cafe Wha house band from Wednesday through Sunday. That was the majority of the programming up until COVID. And then at that point, we sort of were like, what else can we do here? And got to give it a huge shout out to, Drew, who handles a lot of the booking on the team, brought in a lot of really cool Americana, folk, jazz, just a lot of different kinds of things that we were just trying. It was an era of experimentation, and these things were working. And it was like people loved it. They liked to be able to go into this really cool, unique room and be able to see this kind of stuff. And it wasn't something that had been around in the Village for quite a while. And so it's really kind of expanded. And now we still have our house band, of course, which really, they keep things rocking, from 9:30 on most nights. But a lot of acoustic stuff, singer songwriter, Americana, folk, jazz, some rock stuff. Even do some sort of, can do some like hip hop stuff. We try to, I mean, it's mostly a listening room, and really focused on music and full band performances. So.
And you also book Groove as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. Groove is our smaller club. It's like it's a street level bar, live music spot, about half a block up. A lot of different things happen at Groove. Again, that's another club that sort of very much changed a lot during COVID. Prior to that, it was the funk soul R&B club in New York. It was like funk soul and R&B, and that's what it was all the time, And that crowd just never kind of returned. They just, for the most part, we still have a little bit of it, but a lot of that crowd just didn't come back after 2021.
Really?
Yeah.
People leaving the city or what?
I don't know. It just, I think it just kind of changes in demographics, and the people that were coming out were just younger, and they were just sort of just kind of shifted, just the kind of demographic was coming out in the neighborhood. A lot of our some of our sort of legacy bands over there also, just kind of went their own ways. And so it was a little bit of a reinvention, time for Groove as well. And so we've really expanded what we've been doing there too. And, yes, we do still have, some of our old school, funk soul R&B guys that are still keeping it down Sunday nights, First Fridays, things like that. But the programming has expanded a lot as well. So we've just been able to, kind of just going back to that, being able to kind of get out of the, that sort of box that we've been kind of put ourselves in, and just allow ourselves to be creative and find what works and what the people are wanting and how we can deliver it the best we can.
So the Cafe Wha opened in the 50s, and how did your kind of like, and please forgive me, I'm blanking on the name of the management group that you're a part of.
Yeah, I could call it Village Presents Wha Entertainment. I don't know. So yeah,
so Village Presents is Cafe Wha, Groove,
Bleecker Bell.
Bleecker Bell. Are you booking other venues at all, or you just, this is enough? You guys?
I mean, those are the ones that we own and operate, right?
Yeah.
We do a handful of outside sort of promotional shows. We do some boat rides around the city, every year.
Cool.
Yeah, which are a lot of fun. We've been partnering with the Honky Tonkin' in Queens guys and put on some awesome these honky tonk shows with them on these big, paddle wheel boat around the city. We've also done some stuff at some other various rooms just with artists that, we work with that are just like, hey, I love working with you guys, but, I played Cafe Wha or Groove or whatever the last couple times, want to do something a little bit different. Okay, cool. Let's go into this other room. It's not a huge part of what we do, but we do it a little bit,
Yeah. One thing that's so many questions. I want to come back to Village Presents in general. One thing that's curious to me is that y'all kind of stay in your lane with these, 200, 100 capacity venues, and Bleecker Bell, another 200 capacity venue. And sometimes promoters have this perspective that like, okay, yeah, I've got the 200 cap venue, and then I've got the 600 cap venue so that I can stay with this. And then I've got the arena and the amphitheater and the amphitheater, and only a few promoters go all the way up there. But why has that not been in y'all's calculus, and has that been a part of the conversation, and it's like you just want to do what you're doing really well, or
yeah, that's a great question. It really hasn't been part of the conversation, to be honest. However, it's one of these things where I've actually been here with the company since 2010, which I'm kind of dating myself now a little bit, so like 16 years now, and I look back on, when I started here in 2010 and the kind of stuff we were doing and sort of operation we were kind of running compared to now, it's so wildly different, right? And it's so much more, and things have just come such a long way in that time. I certainly don't think it's off the table. It's just we do have our thing that we do pretty well right now, and I think we're just focused on that. Focused on the new club, Bleecker Bell, and focused on our sort of neighborhood stuff here. Will that larger venue and those larger things come? It was certainly not writing anything off. Not writing anything off for sure.
Yeah, it's just kind of
nothing immediate on the docket. Right?
You're just happy to see artists kind of graduate and move on to other venues.
No, I want them to stay and keep playing. Yes, and then go from playing one night here to like doing 2 weeks straight here. That's it. No, of course, obviously, they graduate, they move on, but
that's a cool point though. Is like I never thought about that, and you only have 300 or as you put it, 250 capacity or whatever at Cafe Wha, but do you do a lot of like 5-night runs?
We haven't, we haven't yet. We've done a couple of 1, 2, 3-nighters. The idea is to move more into that sort of thing. To be able to sort of, I find that to be really satisfying musically for me anyway, as like somebody that works and, wants to see artists be able to do different things and, be able to get creative and do things over various different nights. I think that's a kind of cool thing that you can do in a place like New York because there's such a big market here, right?
Yeah.
You bring in artists and have them do several different nights and do different things with different guests. It's really exciting. And like, every show, whether it's the 7 o'clock or the 10 o'clock on Tuesday or Thursday or whatever it is, could be wildly different. So that's something that really excites me. And we're certainly going to be trying to move into that.
So what, just a quick question. What year did Village Presents like take over Cafe Wha, and like what's the background of Village Presents?
Oh, I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, in terms of the company structure, I don't know exactly. Our sort of operation, took over Cafe Wha. And it was shortly before I got here, so I want to say it was probably 2006 or 7.
Cool.
They took over the groove, and these are rough numbers, in about maybe 2022, 23. Took over the groove 22, 23. A couple of years later, took over Cafe Wha. And,
cool. So so a solid, I don't know. So you passed the 10-year mark with Cafe Wha, 15-year mark or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so you made this point earlier in the conversation that it's heartbreaking to see some of the clubs come and go. Why is Cafe Wha and Groove still here, would you say? And Village Presents?
One of the things I think that there's a couple of reasons, I think. I think our team is really, really well structured. We have a really, really good balance of, folks like, Drew, who does a lot of the booking, myself, and some of the other people in the talent music department that are very much focused on the art and the music, but also, with our, just the whole operation, obviously it's New York City. It's not, you can't operate purely on feeling, right? And there is that sort of bottom line there. And I think we, credit to our my bosses and principals have kind of, struck a really, really good balance that sort of, hits the line between putting out, great art and great presentations and giving artists the opportunity and doing really cool things with the bottom line too, right? Because you can't continue to do that stuff if you can't open the door, right? I mean, that's sort of the sort of running thing with art and, making money off of art in one way or another, right? You can't keep doing it if you can't, afford to do it the next day. So that's one of the big things, is that I think our team is really well structured that way. And also the other thing is that we're constant, like nothing is ever things evolve so much, and it's just like things change so much so fast, and we're just always watching and always working and always learning and seeing what's working and just constantly reviewing things. You just never, never just kind of like settle. It's like, how can we do this better? How were the shows this week? What connected well this week? What didn't connect well this week? Like, how can we do this better next time? Is this the kind of thing that people are liking? Is this, a good, artist to keep a relationship with? And just sort of, just constant revision, just really just, working hard at it, just really kind of keeping our things together. And you didn't pay me to say this, but keeping those notes in Prism and like, making sure to track that kind of stuff and like really watching it and just keeping our head in the game, and not sort of not coasting. That's big.
How's Prism been for y'all?
Oh, fantastic, man. I mean, it was a game changer, especially coming out when we started doing a whole lot more of the booking and calendar management, which, like I said, didn't have a lot to do pre-COVID, and that's what I think has been a big part of us, being able to expand into these things, having the different stages and different rooms and being able to see what we can do. And that's the other great thing too, is that, we're able to see what do we have going on at these different stages, different rooms, what do we do, so it's been a total game changer.
Cool. We always love hearing that.
Yeah.
Game changer is perhaps the most kind of consistent thing that we hear, and I'm grateful that that's the case. And you guys are using Insights as well, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, 100%.
What do you think about Insights? Yeah,
Insights is awesome, man. It's like, Polestar, we that was the sort of pre-Insights or whatever you want to call it, right? But it's all self-reported, right? And it also didn't really like apply to to venues of our size for the most part. There's like a handful that sort of report, but like, the fact that Bad Bunny sells 50,000 tickets is of no use to me. You know what I mean? But like,
they're cool. Yeah.
Cool. But but then, to be able to pull up on Insights, and see, okay, like this is how this artist performs in the Northeast. Like this is it allows us to make the offers that make sense,
Love it.
Yeah, that's been incredibly helpful, and also, able to justify our offers when we need to go higher, to the powers that be, right? If we need to make a bigger, better offer, hey, this is why we're making this bigger and better offer. Okay, great.
I mean, look, I need to chop this clip up and send it to every agent that bad talked me for launching Insights, because you just said that Insights helps you sometimes step into a bigger offer than you want to help. And the opposite happens for sure. It can keep people in check and keep people honest. And what I like to say is it helps folks find the right room, and
yeah, for sure.
There's downward pressure, there's upward pressure, and there's people leaning in on shows because of it, leaning out on shows. I think it's a rising tide that raises all ships, though, for sure. And a lot of agents are buying into it also. And I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know. The other day that I heard that agents had started to put it into the Prism contract not the Prism contract, to put it in like their contract to not report to Prism Insights.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. And I was like, that's great advertising for us, honestly. But and then the promoters all say, oh, they just strike it or whatever. But yeah, man, I mean, having book shows myself, it's just trying to have data so that you can decide if you said the bottom line, right? Like the reason why is Cafe Wha open? It's not rocket science. The bottom line, and it's risky enough to book a show when there's good data, let alone when you're in a data vacuum or you're trusting the seller of the show with the to give you the data that you need to decide whether or not their offer is slightly aggressive or slightly optimistic.
Right. I mean, it's like nobody. I don't think nobody wants to have a poor performing show, right? Nobody wants to sell enough tickets in a room that it looks bad, and so it's like, why, I feel like, much more democratizes everything. And like you said, finding the right room. It's like, what's the right place to play? As figure it out, make it all make sense. Obviously, touring, especially at this level, right? I mean, is expensive, and it's very, the profit margins are thin on everybody's side. So it's like, find the right room, find the right way to do it, and everybody will be happy we keep it, going on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Super, super interesting combo. When you just curious, when you first heard about Insights, I don't recall exactly. Did you all hop in immediately, or was there some kind of?
No, we did not hop on immediately.
Talk me through the decision process to finally get on, and it sounds like you don't regret it.
Yeah, no, we don't regret it. We were not super jazzed about jumping on immediately, just because of wanting to keep sort of our own sort of numbers. Which I think puts probably the agents as well and everything, but it was one of those things. It's like as soon as we did. I think it was, I forget who it was. Maybe it was Mike, that was talking to us about it. It's like, why don't you just try it out? Like, just see, and it was one of those things. It's like, oh yeah, all of us buyers and these, people at the venues, we all talk to each other anyway. And so it's like, it's like, we're going to get this, like more or less if we want it anyway. So it's like, this just makes it easier. Like, we all know each other, and like, it's a digital age. You can't really, you can't hide, things too much.
Yeah, the agents will go and, sometimes like local competition pops up a lot, in terms of, well, is there other local promoters using it? And I think, look, it's a fair point. And the thing that we typically say back is, they, you get to see their data, they get to see your data, and so that kind of balances out. But then more importantly, you both get to see like the network wide data.
Right.
And regardless of if you're in Insights or not, like the agents are going to shop the bands to, even if you did a sellout show, like they're going to shop it to other venues and do their job, frankly. And so like for me, it was an effort in promoters kind of linking arms and saying, all right, we're all in on this together in terms of taking crazy risk and deciding to do this with our life, frankly, because all of us do something, so like let's at least take let's at least take the losses out of it, the losses that could be avoided, and like the decisions that, so hey, we long story short, we appreciate you hopping on and doing that calculus and deciding that you wanted to contribute, and every partner that joins, I'm excited. And I hope to be the person. Prism hopes to be the company that's continuing to provide this for the industry, but I do think like just the industry sharing more data is a total inevitability. And it's
not like things are going to become less available. I mean, it's just
right. Like let's look at where the world is going.
Well, like figure out how to do it the right way and get make it work for everyone.
Yeah. That reminds me, man. How did you get into all this craziness, making clubs in New York City run well? And
I started out, I was going to be a guitar player. I went to school in New Orleans for a degree in jazz guitar performance under like the music industry studies program at Loyola. And originally I was going to play professionally, and I did that for like 2 years down in New Orleans until I realized that it wasn't for me. It's like one of those things. It's like, all the musicians that I know, it's like, there's just something about, there's something that they have that I didn't, and I'm just, I'm glad that I realized that. And, came up to New York just sort of on a wing and a prayer. Knew a couple of people up here, and, I knew I had to go to either Nashville, LA, or New York to sort of move into the sort of management world, whatever that meant. And like, I'm not good looking enough for LA, and I don't know enough about country music for Nashville. So, I came up here, and it's actually funny. I
don't want to hear that.
I started working here fairly quickly after being here in the city, and it's just been I never would have thought. I think I got the job 3-4 months into being here. It was a very different job back in 2010, but
and
you know,
no looking back. You're glad that happened. Yeah.
I suppose so. It's 16 years later. I'm still here, and very excited about this new place. So, I don't know if that I could have predicted that, but it's been fantastic, and it's
Incredible.
been amazing to be in this neighborhood, a part of the network and the community, and be able to work with the people I work with, and yeah, it's just so much fun, man, being able to do this every day. It's like I feel like I would do this like if I didn't do this for a living, I'd do this for like fun on the weekend.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I found that working in the industry, we have to like remind ourselves of that too,
Yeah, yeah.
Like I had a grueling day at Prism yesterday, and then I drove up to San Antonio and went and saw Hamilton at the Majestic, which is a
Oh
venue
wow.
we work with, and so I could say we play a very small part in just that venue running, and I could feel a part of that the venue and the show and in a small way, and I was like, oh yeah, like we're not just fixing financial reports and
Right.
dealing with stuff all day. It's like, yeah, we're doing that, but it's so that these beautiful concerts can come together. And yeah, it makes it all worth it because it's a hard industry, man. There's a lot. It's
It
crazy.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
but you do, like you said, you got to remind yourself of it too. You got to like stop and smell the roses. It's like, oh shit, yeah, that's right. Okay,
Yeah. That's I'm tempted to just kind of click back on the whole kind of music journey experience. You said you just noticed that some musicians kind of had something that you didn't. That's a
yeah,
interesting kind of self-aware thing where you're just like, you know what, like I'm just gonna go a different direction. Yeah.
yeah. It was, I don't know what clicked. I had been wanting to play for years and had really put my heart and soul into my studies in guitar and really becoming as good of a player as I possibly could. And yeah, something just clicked, and it just kind of realized in myself. I was like, you know what, it's just not me. It's like that's
Yeah.
and yeah. So, and I'm also glad that I was able to. I guess probably the other part of that too was I was afforded a lot of opportunities via the program at Loyola in New Orleans to be able to go into a lot of different kinds of places and see different things. I mean, I know, right? Like I remember one of the original. Think a lot of people think well, at least I thought this too. Being in the studio is so much fun. Like, oh man, you're in the studio, you're making music and all that kind of stuff. And then you actually go in and you're in a studio session for like a couple of days. You're like, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world. I'm in this like, I mean, maybe this is just me, but it's like I'm in this room and you're just like, oh, there's no windows and it's just, and like, so as opposed to that, realizing, oh my gosh, I love the live stuff. Like I don't want anything to do with studio stuff, recorded stuff. I want the lot, like that's my sort of scene. So, having those sorts of experiences. And then I worked at the House of Blues, in a small capacity for a little bit down in New Orleans, and
Cool.
did some various different things down there in terms of some of the Jazz Fest live stuff too. And so, kind of how to, tried to kind of, round myself in that sort of sense. And just realized that yeah, the musician thing just wasn't going to be my bag. So,
But at the same time that you still wanted to be in and around it.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's cool. What kind of music did you play?
I mean, I had studied jazz guitar, but I was kind of a gun for hire. So whatever, whoever would pay. Whoever would, would pay. But right.
Yeah. You still play at all on the side?
I was in a band here in New York for some years, and we played at a lot of the clubs that aren't here anymore that I just so dearly miss, that were so much fun and really a great part of the community that really miss those places. But no, not really out anymore. I try to pick it up. Part of my morning routine is cup of coffee, pick up the guitar, play around a little bit.
I love that.
So yeah. So
I'm a hobbyist musician too, and I've been getting more
the guitar in the back there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I rarely play guitar anymore. I play cello. Yeah.
Cello. Oh, that's right. You and Justin Cantor, your cello bro.
Yeah, your neighbor. Yeah, I had a fun
yes, our neighbor. Yeah.
Justin. episode 32 or something if y'all want to check it out. I will never come close to a thousandth of as good as he is, for the record,
Oh yeah.
but I still have fun with it. It's, I don't know, music is just so fun to play, and I feel, even though I'm whatever 37 and have no aspirations to like make a living of it or whatever, like I play almost every day, and it just it touches my soul, you know. And
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
the reason why I do Prism, frankly, is like I know what the root of this is,
Sure.
and I love that there are people that can go out there and make a career out of it, and I'm gonna make a career out of helping them, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And like, yeah, just being able to go, I went up to Dizzy's Jazz at Lincoln Center last night, and just being able to go and see just incredible stuff like that. It was like one of those sort of stop and smell the roses things. It was like, okay, like, it's the second set. It's like 10 o'clock on a Wednesday. I was kind of tired, but I was like, oh man, this is just so great. Like, this is why I do this kind of stuff. It's just like beautiful and just amazing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my list over here. Just by in getting into the kind of organizational side of things, you've worked with some cool artists along the way. Van Halen, Elton John, Sabrina Carpenter, John Batiste, to name a few. What was the most special performance you've booked?
So, well, I gotta say the Van Halen thing at Cafe Wha in 2012 was one for the like that was probably one of the most epic things ever. Like,
Oh,
it's gonna go in rock history. So, just a little background on it.
yeah, yeah.
Cafe Wha was opened in 1959 by Manny Roth. Manny Roth is the uncle of David Lee Roth from Van Halen, right? So when Dave was, this is according to Dave, by the way. So when Dave was a kid, he used to spend summers in New York with Uncle Manny and be running around Cafe Wha. Back when, Dylan before he was Dylan, and Jimmy before he was Jimmy, and Bruce before he was Bruce. And so in 2012, Van Halen had not put out a record as from the original lineup. Well, let me change that a little bit. Since like Dave had been a part of the band since the 1984 album. And in 2012, they reunited with the original lineup except Wolfgang on bass. And as the sort of stunt, the PR stunt, they played Cafe Wha on, I forget the specific date. It was right around my birthday. It was like January 5th or something, like 2012. And it was, because of Dave's sort of connection to the place. Manny, who opened the club in 1959, flew out from California. I got to meet Manny. And we had Van frickin' Halen playing on that little tiny stage at Cafe Wha. And it was just so incredible. And this is New York, so we got our sirens here. But,
I can't hear. Yeah.
yeah, just an amazing experience that was, and really, really, really special. Like for the neighborhood.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was quite awesome.
It's probably like a pinch me moment.
Totally was, man. Absolutely, it was. What the wildest part was, like, at sound check, right? Everybody was kind of like in the wings of the club, and this is earlier in the day, and like Dave's on stage, he's like, switch out this bass, and they're like yelling at each other and stuff like that. And nobody's like in the middle of the club. And I was just kind of like, you know what, fuck this. And so I just kind of like went like right in the middle and just kind of like sat there for sound check. And Dave was like, like we had been talking, we've been hanging out for the week, and it was just super cool. It was like Van Halen playing for me. It was just amazing. So super.
Now I ran a quick, reliable AI search on the side here. I mean, before I move on to Bob Dylan, that's that's so epic, man. Cheers. Congratulations. Like, I think you did witness a piece of history there, especially just upbringing with his uncle. And but you perked my ears about like Bob Dylan, and I thought I watched the movie recently, and
oh yeah,
it was in it, right?
It is, yeah. It's like in the opening scene, he gets out of the car and he walks in front of a sort of recreated Cafe Wha. Yeah.
Oh, it's a recreated Cafe Wha. Okay.
Yeah. So they actually so McDougal Street, which is this fantastic street that it's been here forever, and it's a lot of Comedy Cellar, Cafe Wha, all these different places are on it. they, it obviously looks different than it did in 1961, right? So they couldn't just do it here on McDougal Street now. So they created an old school 1961 era McDougal Street across the river in New Jersey. And so that was up for about a week or so. And so there was this fake sort of McDougal Street over there that we kind of got to go over. It's like, oh, this is McDougal from, 50 years ago. It's kind of neat.
Did they approach y'all about shooting some shots at the venue?
No, they didn't. We've had over the years have had a lot of different, and a lot of big time, major directors, major films that have expressed interest. But the problem with Cafe Wha, just kind of like going back to it, it's like it was never meant to have music and much less like film anything. The ceilings are so low, it's so small. It's just so limited with what you can do there. So
I hear you.
It's like physically very, very difficult. Now, a lot of, directors and things will come and check it out and get inspiration for, creating that sort of environment elsewhere to be able to do their shots. But in terms of actually shooting stuff there, it's been for a film anyway, it's been kind of prohibitive. So
yeah, I hear that. Well, I can't wait to come check out the venues when I'm in town. When is Bleecker Bell opening up?
Very, very, very soon. It will be opening in the next couple months.
Nice.
The exact date is to be announced, but it is coming very fast and furiously. And
I get like a breaking news here on the podcast on that.
Unfortunately not, Matt, but as soon as the news does break, it will be known. And
yeah, hit us up. We'll give you a shout out on social and all that. Yeah,
absolutely. Man, we'll have our our calendar out and all that kind of stuff too. We're super stoked. So
love it. Well, it's been a fascinating conversation. I'm thinking that I want to wrap up with just a couple like popcorn questions or popcorn questions. And we could just keep talking forever. It's a really fascinating thing that you have going on. An incredible opportunity. I love that in this time you're opening a 200 cup venue in Manhattan. I mean, like both of those things combined, there's so many forces against that. The fact that you're doing it anyway is just like absolutely incredible. So it's been a really fascinating conversation. Here's a popcorn question. How are ticket sales right now? How are bar sales trending up or down for both of them?
Great question. Bar sales trending certainly down, significantly down. People are not drinking at all like they used to.
A little bit of a bounce back, maybe.
What's that?
A little bit of a bounce back, or no, not yet.
I don't know. I mean, well, people were drinking big coming out of COVID, but it's been a lot less, frequently. So bar sales are certainly less and less, which has sort of, reoriented some of the economics, right? And sort of, how you fill in that sort of gap. Ticket sales have remained fairly steady. We see some sorts like New York is very seasonal and kind of weather dependent also, just because it is such like a walkable city, and the city just changes so much in like a time like summer. Like if you book one show, in July, like versus booking the same show on the same night in October, you'll get a sellout in October and like barely be able to sell any tickets in July, So yeah. So and I mean it varies based on the artist, of course, but there are a lot of seasonal things there. Ticket sales have remained solid,
Good.
So that's good.
That's good. Are you using AI, and if so, what chat interface and how often?
We're not using it too much. I think it's just because honestly, it's something that we've been wanting to explore more. The only thing is we're kind of in this sort of position of being, so it's like learning a new skill, right? It's like, well, now I got to carve out time to learn a new skill, but like I have so much to do right now that I don't have time. It's like too busy running the business, right? To like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like, so it's kind of like, that's the sort of tricky thing that, at least I personally am finding myself in. And, is that it's this new skill that we've got to learn. And it's like, how do you use it and where do you use it? And so it's coming along probably a little bit slower than we would like. Certainly bringing it more and more into the picture. I know, I think Claude is kind of our preferred one that we like.
Okay, so I'll offer you a gateway drug. You can hook Prism up to Claude now.
Can you?
Yeah, so I'll shoot you a message afterward, but it lets you do things, but like, what are the genre trends at the venue in the last year?
Yeah.
You could feed a message from Claude in the morning and say like, summarize the next 10 shows I have in their ticket sales, and then you feed it to Prism.
Wow. I know I saw
yeah.
I saw you briefly at, what was it? Was it at Neva?
Yeah.
Did like a 10-minute thing between the things, and like I was like, oh man, we got to get on that. It's just ever since, what was that, early June, I've just been like, oh, I need to do that, but like haven't.
Yeah. After the podcast, if we got a time, I'll a couple minutes, I'll show you. It. I feel you about learning a new skill, but I'm gonna push you to
carve the time out. That's what.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, I was talking to the CTO of Hive at Neva. Are y'all using Hive?
We're on Symbol right now.
Actually. Oh, cool. How's Symbol going?
Symbol's going well. We have somebody that handles a lot of our marketing. And so I haven't had as much hands-on experience with it. It's actually funny because the person that handles our marketing, they were out of town recently, a much deserved vacation, and I needed to do a little email blast, and I'm like, oh man, I haven't done this in a
minute. Great platform. Brandon, shout out to the CEO. Brandon, great dude. Both Hive and Symbol. Like if I was a promoter, that would be my tool next to Prism. Okay. What other what's the next show that you're most excited about?
That we have coming up?
Yeah.
Gosh, I would have to look at the calendar, to be honest, man. Let's see. It's tough to say. We have one of, actually, there's a guy I work with, you might know him, Pedrito Martinez. I've actually been working with him for many years, doing his sort of tour advancing, the Latin jazz artist, really, really unique and fantastic, player, incredible player, and just brilliant. I get to book him at our clubs every once in a while when the scheduling allows it. And I'm really excited to have him back. I haven't had him at the club in maybe a year and a half or so. So I'm really excited to have him back. It's something a little bit fun. We don't get to do a lot. And it's like the really cool thing with him that I just love is that the whole production setup is totally different than anything else. He has like a conga setup that's like a drum setup, but that's the featured instrument. It's wild. It's super cool. And he's just amazing. So I'm super excited about having him.
Incredible. Oh my God. I had one and then I just totally blanked. Okay. Anyway, I'll move on to another one. What was the best emerging artists you booked I remember what it was. Okay. I'm sorry. What percentage of underplays are you going to do at Bleecker Bell, and what's your strategy for underplays? Yeah.
Oh gosh, man, if I had the answer to that, wouldn't everybody like to know? The percentage of underplays, a ton of them that will just
100%, right?
Yeah, that would just be like total wildly sell out. We'll do those Bad Bunny 50,000 ticket underplays. I'm just kidding. That'd be ridiculous. But no, I mean, we're like, we have been able to do a good number of underplays at Cafe Wha, which has always been super exciting. I think Bleecker Bell is going to be a really, really great place for that, especially with all the facilities and everything, which are, we're really going to lean into there. In terms of the strategy, I think it's not so much just kind of going back to the sort of just general thing. It's not so much about the looking for the one thing. It's just, just do everything right, do it all right.
Cool.
Put everything together, attract the artists, attract the customers, put together great stuff, and and it'll come. So I think that's our overwhelming sort of idea. The other thing too, I know with the new club, especially just like with our other clubs, we're in it for the long haul. It's about
I
it's
love
not
that.
trying to do a flash in the pan thing, or like, hey, this club will be open for 5-6 years or whatever, and it's really about creating something that's gonna sustain and hang around. So
Well, that's a radical statement in this capitalist society that we're in. And hey, I'm as much of a capitalist as anyone, but to do things because you want to do them and you want to do them sustainably, and you're passionate about doing them. I mean, I'm getting an incredible vibe from you, and I love that you have found this for yourself, and you're
thanks.
dedicating your life, yeah, bringing incredible.
I feel very lucky to be where I am.
Oh man, I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm like I haven't made it to the venues yet, and I will be in New York City this soon, and I hope to come by. So thank you so much for spending the time on the podcast and for being great partners, and giving us some good shout outs on here. And good luck with the venue.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Please come by, and yeah, we're super excited and watch for more, and we're looking forward to some more great shows in the future. So.
Yes, to many more great shows. All right.
Thanks so much, Matt.